Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining our first virtual Plan for Jobs event. We're trying something a bit different today. We've got a fantastic all-star cast of panelists who have very kindly given up their time to join us and take some questions with me today. So why don't we kick off by getting everyone to introduce themselves. And I think, Amelia, why don't we start with you?
Hi, I'm Amelia Router. I'm a data analysis apprentice for Acme UC.
Brilliant. Alicia?
Hi, I'm Alicia. I'm an advanced technical apprentice from BAE Systems.
Excellent, thanks. Abby?
Hi, I'm Abigail Davidson and I'm a degree level research and development apprentice with Unilever.
Brilliant. And then Claire?
Good morning. Claire Barclay. I'm the CEO for Microsoft in the UK.
Thanks, Claire. Laura?
Hi everybody, I'm Laura Hinton. I am the Chief People Officer for PwC in the UK.
Brilliant. And Darren?
Hi everyone, I'm Darren Avery from London Ambulance Service and I lead on apprenticeships.
Brilliant. Well, look, first of all, thanks to all of you, our three fantastic apprentices and three corporate executives for joining us today. Now, let me start off by saying, what do Sir Ian McKellen, Alec Ferguson, Jamie Oliver and Karen Millen all have in common? Well, obviously, they were all apprentices. And that's what we're here to talk about today, about apprenticeships and how valuable they are to our economy. Now, if you've heard me speak in any of the interviews I've given, hopefully you will know how important our Plan for Jobs is to me. My number one priority is to try and protect as many people's jobs as possible, but also to help people find new opportunities. And apprenticeships are a critical part of that. Throughout this crisis, young people have been the most badly impacted, particularly as they disproportionately work in the sectors like hospitality, where we're seeing a lot of stress for those companies for obvious reasons. And we want to try and help. We know that apprenticeships work. 90% of people who do an apprenticeship end up in further training or employment, which is fantastic. And that's why we're now offering businesses a huge cash incentive, thousands of pounds to take on a new apprentice, and hopefully people get the sense that I and we as a government are trying really to throw everything we've got at this and provide people with hope for a brighter future, even though we're going through difficult times at the moment. But anyway, that's enough from me. We've got 580 different types of apprenticeship out there. Let's hear from some of those people. Let's hear from others as well, and get going with our event. Now, I've got some questions coming in from online, and I should have said that at the beginning. If people do have questions, please just submit them, and we might come to them as we go through this list. But I think the first question we've got is, what are the benefits of apprenticeships and why has the government decided to invest in them? Why don't we start by asking actually all three of our fantastic apprentices to just give a quick, what is your favourite or most rewarding thing about being an apprentice and why has it been fantastic and beneficial for you? Abby, do you want to start?
Yeah, so I'd start by saying it's the experience you're able to get alongside your studies and then how you're able to take those opportunities and the responsibility you're given and put them into practice. So you can learn something at university or on your on-the-job training, and then you get to put it into the products and then see it on the products on the market as well.
Fantastic. Is there anything in particular that you've been working on, Abby, that you're particularly proud of?
Well, most recently I've worked on a PG Tips range. So it's the PG Tips Plus range where you've got immunity, caffeine and metabolism, and they're all currently in the shops at the moment. So that's really rewarding.
Brilliant. Oh, that must be brilliant. Excellent. Right, next. Alicia, what are your favourite things about being an apprentice?
So I like the fact that you're able to move around the business and get the experience that you've probably not had before. So you're picking up all those transferable skills that you can then move into the business with and actually learn from the people who have been in that department a long time.
Excellent. Now that variety. And then lastly, Amelia, highlights for you.
Again, like the other two, it's the on-the-job working. Rather than just studying online in current circumstances, it's quite nice to actually put that into practice and it brings it to life rather than it just being in a book or on a screen. So it's nice to work within the team as well and get their experiences and what goes right and little tricks of the trade, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's the great thing about apprenticeships is because they combine, it's a job and training at the same time, all in one. You get the benefits of both, which is fantastic, especially when you're trying something new. And why don't we, if we turn to some of the fantastic people we've got who are responsible for recruiting apprenticeships in their organisation, and just hear it from that perspective. So, Claire and Laura, why don't I come to you? You guys obviously run large organisations. You think a lot about, how do we get great people into our organisations, our businesses. What is it about the apprenticeship programme that makes it an important part of your business? Claire, do you want to go first, and then we'll come to Laura?
Yeah, I'll go first. Yeah, I mean, it's apprentices provide an incredibly rich talent pool, and having seen many of them in my organisation, in Microsoft, and also in our supply chain and our customers, they're now, adding considerable value to the organisations overall. And I guess what's more is apprentices are an option for sizes of all companies. I've seen them be successful, very successful in the SME sector. And so I think for people considering now to take on new people, certainly in our industry, we have quite a big skills shortage going on at the moment. And so probably about 3 million jobs we predict by 2025 will be available across the tech sector. So I think for people thinking about reskilling, it's a great opportunity right now.
Fantastic. I mean, that's an extraordinary stat about the vacancies that you're seeing in your industry, and that's why we're keen as a government to try and support people to acquire those new skills where the opportunities are. And this, as you're saying, an apprenticeship is a great way to pick up those skills and then end up in a career. So delighted to hear that. Laura, from your perspective.
Yeah, no, would echo much of what Claire said, actually. From a skills perspective, apprenticeships are incredibly helpful. They allow us to really close skills gaps. So wherever we've got shortages, particularly in the technology and digital space, and develop skills in a workforce that have got those particular skills that we know that we need to support our business. I think they're also incredibly flexible. There are far more routes into organisations through apprenticeships, and I think most people realise. So you could join PwC as a consultant, as a technologist, as an auditor or an accountant, lots of different routes, and having that flexibility I think is important. And the last point I would pull out is around diversity. Apprenticeships give us access to a diverse talent pool that we probably wouldn't otherwise get access to. So those people that may want a different career path, may have chosen not to go to university, really helpful from a social mobility perspective, and connecting with local communities. So a huge number of benefits.
Okay, fantastic. I've got a question in, which Darren, I think this would be a good one for you. We've got a question in from Joe Smith, who is tuned in. Joe's asking, I run a business in the social care sector, and I'm thinking about taking on an apprentice. It would be good to hear any advice from other frontline providers about what do I need to do next? How should I think about incorporating apprenticeships into my organisation? Have you got any tips for Joe, Darren, and about what Joe should be thinking about?
Yeah, I think the key thing is the engaging with the right training provider. There's a lot of training providers out there, and making sure that you get the support from the training provider to ensure it meets the needs of the organisation. So that in terms of the training that's offered to the apprentice and the support that's available to the employer, it's really important that the right training provider will help with that journey. And allow, as an employer, provide all the support required.
And Darren, for your apprentices at the London Ambulance Service, how does that work? I mean, how does a typical apprentice, where do they do their training, or who does it? How does it interact with the work that they're doing when they're with you?
Yeah. So we recruit for a number of different roles. Our large apprenticeship programs are working on the front line, obviously supporting our ambulance services. So for those apprentices coming in to that, we're heavily involved in the training of that. So they do a lot of upfront training to give them the skills. So they don't necessarily need to come with a background. Driving license is important because obviously they're out there driving, but they get the upfront training. They learn the clinical skills as well as the driving skills with us, and the support obviously from the staff that they get as well out there in the field, with the mentors and the buddies and the educators to really provide them the support to get them up to the level that they need to be.
Brilliant. It's great that you don't need to, you can come fresh to it and then you will provide the support that people need. And the other thing I'd say, Joe, is we have a fantastic website, apprenticeships.gov.uk, which is where we have the apprenticeship service, which hopefully is a good one-stop shop for everything you need to know. And it will tell you there about the incentives that we offer to small and medium-sized companies in particular to take on apprentices. You can get a cash bonus of up to £2,000, which is something that we've put in place. But also for these smaller businesses, the government will pay 95% of the training costs that Darren was talking about. So hopefully that will be a help to you as you think about this. Right, the next question we've got Robert McIntosh on Twitter who's asking, this is a great question actually, what about people in their 50s who are looking to retrain? Not everyone is made redundant between the ages of 16 to 25. I think that is an excellent point. And maybe Laura, I'll get your perspective on that. I'll give you my quick 2 cents on that, Robert, is you're absolutely right. Actually, what people don't realise, they think of apprentices always as being young people in our heads, but around half of all new apprenticeships starts are actually people over the age of 25, which is quite counterintuitive. And because of the particular economic situation that we face, for I think pretty much the first time, we now offer a cash incentive for businesses to take on older apprentices as well. Normally, we've concentrated that support on younger apprentices, but because of this situation and because of exactly the point that you raised, we now also give businesses a generous cash incentive to take on older apprentices. But Laura, do you have a thought on the kind of age, the apprentices can work for people at different ages?
Yeah, absolutely. And Robert is exactly right. I mean, there need to be opportunities across the age spectrum, different levels of seniority, different grades. I mean, I think we would all recognise that the skills that all of us need in the future are very different to the skills that we have relied upon in the past, not least in relation to new technology and data. And that's relevant, I think, across many different sectors. So we're certainly making an investment in all of our employees within PwC to digitally upskill them so that we can all stay relevant, whether that future is with the firm, whether people move on somewhere else. And that absolutely extends to our recruits, our apprentices, to really make sure they've got the skills needed for the future.
Oh, that's really helpful. And I think, Alicia, we were talking previously, you set up a mentoring network or a peer support network for apprentices at your organisation. Maybe helpful you talk a little bit about how you were able to get people at all different types of background integrated and provide them the support they needed to make a good fist of it once they were with the organisation.
Yeah, of course. So me and a degree apprentice, Jacob, set up this peer support network in the air sector at BAE. So we've chosen ambassadors based on their experience and knowledge and what experiences they've had. So we've got this range of ambassadors, and they could be talking about moving to an area or providing support about how you get to a site or what education they've had before their apprenticeship. And what we've done is we've picked the ambassadors to be as a support network for those new apprentices coming into the business. So if someone comes in with a query, they're able to ask those ambassadors and gain some knowledge from them before they maybe get worried about something, work themselves up about something. So we're trying to create that inclusive population in the apprenticeship.
And Lizzie, have you been able to manage that quite successfully, doing it over Teams and other things through periods of disruption?
Yeah, so BAE have taken on quite a virtual induction this year because of obviously the pandemic. So we've been heavily involved in supporting that and providing different sessions where the ambassadors are able to talk to the new apprentices.
Okay, fantastic. Amelia, I think you might have an interesting perspective on this because, again, how has an apprenticeship worked for your particular life situation and needing to move around? I think it would be interesting for people to hear about that and why that apprenticeship worked for you.
Yes, so I'm an older apprentice. I'm over the age of 25. I'm not going to say how much over the age of 25, but I am. So I found going into an apprenticeship very eye-opening. So I've gone into the data side of things, and having actually previous life experience has helped massively. And because I move around, my husband's job requires us to move. It's very flexible with what we do and how we work, and it fits well into my life. especially the type of apprenticeship I'm doing, and the company I work for, it's very flexible. It's kind of elastic as to the fact of I can be older, I can have my family. If we move around the country, it's fantastic. I'm not losing my training. The apprenticeship I was doing, it's remote anyway. So the pandemic, it was all set up. So it's great.
Okay. Oh, that's really good to hear. I'm glad it worked for your, for your particular need for mobility and flexibility. Just quickly before we move on, Darren, Claire, any thoughts about this? Apprenticeships being for everyone at every age and working, equally for lots of different people.
Yeah, maybe I can start that. Sorry, Darren, you go.
I was going to say, just for us at London Ambulance Service, because we take people they don't necessarily need the particular experience. We can take people, and we find that we take people at all ages, and we provide that training. And for some individuals at a later stage in life, this then becomes a career. So it doesn't really matter. They could have done a different career before, or this could be their first career. But we have that opportunity to progress individuals right through, so that they can stay with us and progress in our organisation and really have a good career pathway.
Yeah, maybe just I see, return to work mothers, people doing career switches, military leavers. We see a whole range of different people at different stages of life. And given the skills shortage I talked about earlier on, technology is definitely an industry that welcomes all. So we're just interested in people that want to get skilled up. So
yeah. Oh, that's excellent. And something that the Prime Minister's talked about is this idea of a lifetime skills guarantee. And we want to make sure that people at all stages of their life, have the ability to be supported into new opportunities, particularly as the nature of our economy changes. And one thing that we're doing is called a level 3 qualification, which previously is equivalent to an A level, which lots of people don't have who are adults. And previously, you got government support for that only up to the age of 24 or 25. And what the Prime Minister announced a little while ago in his speech on skills, and as part of this guarantee, is we're going to expand that so that at any point in your life, if you haven't already got a level 3 qualification, you'll be able to get government support to get a qualification like that. And that doesn't have to be as part of an apprenticeship, just generally. And we know that will have a big impact on people's likelihood of being employed, but also earning more money. So hopefully that will help with this lifelong learning that we're all trying to get to. Right, next question. And Abby, let's start with you for this. It's for all our apprentices on the panel. Question from Emmy. Why did they choose to opt for an apprenticeship over other routes into the workplace? Abby, do you want to start?
So personally for me, it was partly down to how I learn best. I personally feel that rather than a textbook, I'd rather learn from seeing what other people do and gaining all of their knowledge and also putting it into practice. But it was also a reality of I looked at my options, and if I'd gone to university, say I'd perhaps done a year in industry, so my bachelor would have taken 4 years. My degree has taken me 4 years part-time, but at the end of the day, if I did a year in industry, I'd only have 1 year's work experience, whereas I'm getting 4 years work experience. Right. So in balance, I just feel it sets me up better for when I do secure a full-time role and for I could progress in my career going forward into the future. And also at the end of the day, I have no student debt either, which obviously is a positive from my perspective.
Yeah, no, that's very compelling pitch for it. Alicia, from your end, what were you thinking about when you had a look at your choices and options?
So I came from a college background, so I did my A-levels and then I was looking into obviously universities, but then I realised that I didn't want to take that kind of classroom-based learning. I wanted to go into more practical, so I could obviously learn whilst I earn, but also I can gain those skills that I probably wouldn't have gained in a classroom. So as Abby was saying, you are learning those skills as you're going through and gaining that work experience rather than having all the knowledge but then no work experience.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And Amelia, I mean, you touched on this before a little bit anyway, but anything extra you wanted to add about when you were thinking about different options?
Yeah, so I obviously had jobs before I became an apprentice, but I wanted more of a career. So especially with the type of apprenticeship I'm doing, it's very much data analysis, but it's not you just work in spreadsheets. Like the the field that it opens, you can go and do data analysis for a football team. Like, it can take you kind of anywhere, and like just how technology's expanding all of that, it's very exciting. So it's not just a job on spreadsheets, it's very much a career in whatever field you really fancy and enjoy doing.
Yeah. Oh, well, that again is a very powerful pitch for apprenticeships. Now, next couple, I think they might be a little bit more for me. We've got a live question from someone who's watching saying 80% of our new clients since your grant was offered have never had an apprenticeship before. This is really contributing to young people launching their careers and small business growth. How can we help you keep this momentum going past March? And then a similar question from Kathy Kessel on LinkedIn. Will the current enhanced apprenticeship incentives be extended beyond March? And have you got some thoughts about Kickstarters as well? So what I can say is, to those who are watching, obviously we've got these generous incentives in place. They run through to the spring. We're going to have a budget on the 3rd of March where I'm going to set out our next stage of our economic response to coronavirus and a range of different things that we've done to help people over the past year. We're going to be able to take stock of the situation and decide what's best to do going forward. So stay tuned, but I'm delighted that you feel that it's made a difference, in particular to small businesses. And on there's a kind of related question from Andrew Joy, who's asked, what do companies need encouragement with in order to take apprenticeships on? Maybe I can ask, Claire, Laura, and Darren, do you feel, do you get the support you need from government and me? Is the partnership working where the quality is there, the incentives are there to help businesses do this? What's working well for you, and what do we need to focus on? Who wants
I'm happy to answer that question. I think the partnership is definitely working well. I think that there's one point for me which I think is interesting. It pulls out a couple of the points that we've talked about already in terms of how do we really sell the option of an apprenticeship as opposed to going to university or a different route, particularly for those people coming out of school. And we certainly find that we have to do as much upskilling, education and selling to parents as much as actually the students themselves, because there is still a bit of a, not necessarily stigma, but a thought around apprenticeships that they're somehow not as good as a university option, which I would completely disagree with. So I think anything that we can collectively do to really sell apprenticeships, it's something like this, the benefits of them and why they're a fantastic alternative route, I think would be incredibly helpful, because that's one of the barriers that we do still come up against.
And Claire, I know you've thought a lot about this, so why don't you share with us?
Yeah, I would echo Laura's point, actually. There is definitely, we get a lot of applicants for apprentices, so we don't necessarily have the demand problem. But if I look at a lot of the SME companies that we work with, sometimes they get exactly the point that Laura's made reference to. Like, is that right? Should I do it? So more awareness of the benefit of it, definitely. And then we also welcome the changes that you made to the levy, where we can actually use that in our supply chain. So a lot of the SME organisations that we work with, that means that we can make much more use of our levy for driving skills out and creating jobs out in our network.
Maybe really helpful. Sorry, Dan, one sec. Just, Claire, you could expand on that a bit, because people might not realise you've got a company like Microsoft, but you are working with your supply chain. So all the smaller companies that might not have the brand name of Microsoft, but are part of your fantastic supply chain and working closely with you and getting support from you for apprenticeships. Could you mind talking a little bit about that? Because I think it's quite attractive to young people to know that, okay, I'm part of this ecosystem that leads up. Fantastic.
Yeah, so we have 25,000 businesses in the UK that work with us, and so you can imagine the level of employment and jobs, and many of them are looking to hire apprentices now. So the change in the levy meant that we can actually invest together in that supply chain and in our partner network to make sure that we can make the most of the levy and the investment that the government will do. And the other ask I would have perhaps in the promoting of the apprenticeship, sometimes apprentices, certainly in the technology industry, look for the big brands. So whereas actually there is just as good jobs, as I guess Amelia is a great reference for some of the smaller, less known companies, because they are hiring and they have plenty of good jobs for people to start and grow their career.
Oh, that's brilliant. And I think the change, for people who are not aware, what Claire was referring to is we made some changes recently, which mean that large companies who pay an apprenticeship levy to fund training are able to spend some of that levy down the supply chain with their small and medium-sized companies. That's a change we've made recently, which I'm glad Claire is helping. But Darren, what were your thoughts on this partnership working between us and you, and what's working well?
Yeah, and the only thing that I would say is just obviously moving on a bit from the levy, and obviously, I mean, for us and obviously the wider NHS and other employers about utilising unspent levy and how, you know, we not all employers are utilising that, what more we can do. And then the only other point is around the maths and English and the flexibilities there as an employer that unfortunately, we have many apprentices held up with not achieving the maths and English at the required level for various reasons.
Right, okay, I've taken my notes, brilliant. I think we're almost out of time, and we've got probably a great question to end on from Graham that's just come in. For the apprentices, what is the most interesting project you've worked on, and what have you done that makes you most proud of being an apprentice? So, Amelia, do you want to start, and then we'll go to Alicia and Abby?
Oh gosh. So again, I'm very lucky. I work within like the data side of things. So one of the projects that I work on is like the Teams calling and how people work from home and how we can help people with that and support companies to bring remote working and very successfully, which is always nice to be a part of, and seeing the changes that the world kind of keeps running, I guess.
Fantastic. Okay, Amelia, thank you. Alicia?
Yeah, so I think my internet playing up. So is that all right? Yeah. I've had the opportunity to experience loads of different placements. So I think some of the most interesting ones I've been able to take part in Tempest design, so the future airframe technology. But I've also been able to work in electronic warfare. So it's how we can support, protect, and attack electronically. So it's how we're able to detect air threats and countermeasures and that we can put in place, and then we can suppress enemy defense. So because I'm in the air sector, I get to experience quite a few different roles.
Abby, do you want to go? Because I think you may.
Yeah, I was going to say a little bit like Alicia. I got to do rotations. One of my rotations was into ice cream, and I was very fortunate within ice cream where I got to work with all the brands, which was incredibly fortunate. So we have Magnum and Ben & Jerry's, and I got to work on the removal of sugar and the reduction of sugar from these products whilst keeping them all tasty and scrumpy for all the consumers out there, but also healthier at the same time, so that we're supporting all the nutritional standards across the UK and around the world.
Great. I think he's just trying to rejoin from the looks of things. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know, maybe to Darren and Laura, whether there's any views from kind of the projects you've heard about from the apprentices that you employ.
We employ a lot of our apprentices in frontline roles. So a lot of our apprentices are out there on the ambulances, obviously supporting Londoners, with providing the care. So, we've got some great things going on with our apprentices in the London Ambulance Service.
Yeah, and I would echo that. I think, the great thing about an apprenticeship is that, our apprentices work with our clients from the first day that they join the firm. So there's great access and they get great flexibility to do lots of things, and working alongside lots of different specialists. I think, Amelia talked about data routes, and I know we've got some really exciting projects helping our clients, particularly around data, cyber security, hacking into systems to see where the vulnerabilities are. Some really, really interesting stuff that I know a lot of our people are very keen to get involved in.
Welcome back, Chancellor.
Great, thank you, Claire. I saw you were doing a stellar job. There's a budget that needs doing in a few weeks. If you feel like you've got some time, come back up. Great. Brilliant. I think we are almost out of time. We probably are out of time, I think. So, but I caught the end of that. So it may need for me to say thank you to all of you for making time. I think it will have been enormously valuable for everyone listening, certainly helpful for me to get all your perspectives about apprenticeships. And the tail end of that conversation to me actually highlighted something that summed the whole thing up. Just the sheer variety that apprenticeships provide in terms of the types of things you can be doing, the stage of your life that they can work for you on, the range of organizations that are offering them. I think that's what makes them so exciting to me. So I'm delighted we're supporting them as best we can, delighted that your organizations are able to do the same, and so excited for the future that Abigail, Alicia and Abby and Amelia have all got in front of them as a result. So with that, I'll just say thanks to you all. I wish you all the best for the future. And thanks everyone for tuning in and listening, other than the slight technical issue at the end. Hopefully this has been a decent experiment and we can do a few more of these. So thanks very much. Have a good day.
Thank you.